Here we go. Thank you so much for joining me for today's burst of innovation. 10 minutes. We are going to dig in because this is a good one that I have used hundreds and hundreds of times with clients, virtually, live. It's on our toolkit. It's one of our most watched videos. It just works, and it makes it so simple to redefine your challenges and to reinvent your solution. So I want to share this with you today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share a story, an example of this exercise coming to life, and then I'm going to show you the template so that you can take a screenshot of it if you'd like, so that you can actually use it and not just try to remember what I'm talking about. And if we have the time, what I'd actually love to do is if one of you has a specific challenge, and you'll see when I show you the exercise that applies here, I would love to have you put it in the chat bar, and maybe we can roll up our sleeves and work through it live. I would absolutely love to do that. I think it's really exciting, and I think it really shows how applicable this exercise really is, because it works across a lot of different things and a lot of different situations, and it taps into a lot of the different everyday innovator styles as well. So it really resonates with a diverse group of people and a diverse group of thinking. So I call it play on the fringes. Let me share a story with you that really brings this to life. This was the first time that this kind of all came together. So a while back, I was hired by a makeup company to reinvent lipstick for them. Now, if you've ever been down the lipstick aisle, you know that it is a sea of color options. I mean, I think I read somewhere that there are 275 different colors reds in lipstick. In fact, it's probably more now. It is insane. And if you're one of those people that either doesn't wear makeup or has just never ventured down, you're not a lipstick person, I would just encourage you to go down the lipstick aisle. You will be so overwhelmed with how same everything looks. So this was a little while. This is actually about 10 years ago now. And so I'm in this room. We're having this brainstorm session with a group of experts. So what does that mean? That means a lot of people with a lot of knowledge about lipstick and about makeup. I mean, we're talking brilliant minds in marketing and branding and R&D and innovation in makeup. So we're sitting there and we're trying to kind of reinvent lipstick, and we're not getting anywhere. And what's happening is it's all the same people looking at the same things. We have the same information and the same perspectives coming together, and we've got blinders on in the makeup category. Now, how often does that happen to all of us, where whatever it is that we are doing, whatever our world is, our industry, we tend to get blinders on and only look there? Well, after about 30 painful minutes of a lot of silence and frustration, I got to thinking, hey, what if we expanded? What if we played on the fringes? What if we got out of lipstick and into the other categories that are outside of our day-to-day, but still very relevant to us? So we went through 4. So I asked the group, I said, hey, what's on the edge of what we do? And somebody shouted out, oh, like kind of before or after the lipstick part, like other makeup. And then it kind of led to, oh, lotions, cleansers, like stuff like that, right? Like that's all part of your beauty regimen. So that was on the edge. So we kind of listed that stuff out. And then we went over to, well, what's on the fringes, like the extremes of what we do? And someone shouted out, oh, like permanent makeup, like tattoo makeup, or even tattoos in general, or like piercings and stuff like that. And someone else made the joke about like, that's not beauty. And the other person responded rightfully, that's not your definition of beauty, right? So what are those things on the extremes? And then we went to, well, at the core though, what do we do? If you couldn't say we're lipstick, what would you say we are? And someone shouted out, we're the finishing touch, right? We're like the last piece. We're like, yes. So we wrote that down. And then we went over to who has the same challenges or does the same, actually, let me say it differently. Who does the same thing we do, but in a drastically different category? And we thought, okay, well, if we're the finishing touch, then we could go over to cars, right? And think about car waxing, right? And that like detailing on cars or even car accessories, right? That's the finishing touch for someone with a car. So we went to all these different places. We redefined our world and our challenges, and we brought those together to actually, we pulled a little bit from here and a little bit from there. We said, well, lotions and beauty, like what do they do so well, right? Well, they're very benefit driven, right? For dry skin, makes you smooth, better for shaving, like all that stuff. How do we pull that in to what we're trying to do? And we looked at the extreme stuff and we said, well, how do we do that? Well, long lasting, right? That matters. Maybe not permanent, but long lasting, right? We pulled a nugget. We went over to what the cars did. We said, okay, well, they're all about the finishing touch. So maybe we pull this kind of concept of really owning that part of the makeup into it. And we looked at the core of what we do and being that finishing touch. So at the time, and this was a teenage makeup company, we pulled it all together to create the creamiest lipstick pencil that lasted for 4 hours. It was the first and only of its kind. Now the company has moved on and evolved with the market since, but I thought that was a brilliant example of when we play on the fringes, not in the core, it is so much easier to redefine our challenges, to find those new opportunities and new ways to think about it. I think the mistake that most of us make accidentally is that we get so myopic and so head down and stay in that inner bubble. We want to go to the outer bubble. So I'm going to show you that template because I think it makes it the simplest, easiest exercise possible. There's really 2-3 steps to this that you can do, that your team can do. And I will tell you, every time I've done this exercise, the ideas that come out of it are breakthrough. They're not the incremental ones. They truly are the innovative ones. So let me share my screen. And as I was saying, if you've got a challenge that you want to throw up on the chat bar, let me open that up for you. For myself, actually. Hold on, we get to think. Oops, no, wrong one. Sorry. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can now see my screen. If you've got one, I'd be happy to work through it. Let me open up the video. Let me open up the actual worksheet. This is it. It's so simple. I don't know how to make it smaller on my screen. Oh, there we go. Haha, I do. Right? So in that center, you put what's your challenge, and then you start working through it, right? You start with filling out those bubbles. Who or what is on the edge of what you do? Now think about that for a second. If you're a consulting firm, let's say you do performance management consulting for companies, who is on the edge of what you do? Like a little bit before you, a little bit after, maybe a little bit complementary to you. Maybe that's operational people. There's so many ways to look at this. So I geek out on this exercise because it's so exciting. Who or what is on the extreme of what you do? Go to the fringes. And, I shared kind of jokingly how that one person said, oh, this isn't right. Like, that's not beauty. I share that because I think it's actually important to recognize this is not about what your definition is. It's about looking at the category and saying what's on the fringe of your category or what's on the edge of your category. And then at the core, stripping away all the marketing language, all the business language, just fundamentally at the core, what do you do? And then who else does it in a completely different field? I'll tell you, one of the ones that I've answered for myself when I work through this exercise for LaunchStreet is I say, okay, well, what's one of the things that we do that we're trying to do, right? When our challenge is around building community. And then I look at like, well, who does that? Who builds community in a totally different field? And I start to look at things like Tough Mudder and Spartan, those extreme sports that build Peloton, that you can see my back, that builds incredible community. And then here's the second part of that, right? Then I say, what do they do that I can borrow? How do I learn from them? How do I leverage what they've done? And that, my friends, is where the magic is. All right, we have 2 minutes left. So if you've got a challenge you want to just briefly work through and get yourself in the hot seat, or you have a business that you want to think about, put it in the chat bar. You can be totally general and know that you sharing actually helps everybody else on these calls, all 30 or 40 of us. It's like 37 actually on here. So do that. Put it in the chat bar. Remember what I told you that I could stare at you all day long because I have 2 boys? Because I can't. So hopefully you see, as I'm talking, hopefully you see the value in this. Hopefully you see how you can use this exercise, and I encourage you to take a screenshot and actually apply it to the challenges that you face. Like maybe in the center, it's like, how do I move my team more remotely? How do I move my team more remotely during all this change? Well, who's on the edge of that, right? Who's on the extreme? Oh, Nicole, thank you. She wrote, I've got to run, but so wish I could work through this with you. Thanks. Great content. Oh, good. Love the format. Good, Nicole. I'm glad. I'm really glad that you feel that. Thank you. I know it's awkward to share on virtual. I get it. But I want you to think about this for your business. And you can do this. The beauty is you can do this across multiple challenges. This is not this only works here, this only works there. Like I said, I've used it across industries, across team levels. You'll be amazed. And here's the thing, if you're a leader, which so many of you are, oftentimes in these situations, when you ask your team to like expand their thinking, I don't know if you find this, but people get stuck, right? Because we're trapped in our like, I don't know, I know my world. The brain kind of shuts down. This way of thinking about it overrides all those internal resistors to coming up with innovation. So I encourage you to really use this exercise. Okay, you guys are probably seeing my text messages come in too, because somehow it's connected to my computer. So appreciate our time together. Oh, good, Cheryl, you're gonna work on this today. Excellent. Good, I'm so glad. I'd love to hear how it works. All right, we are out of time. It is 9:10, but thank you, thank you, thank you. Cheryl, I really look forward to hearing how you use that. Use this exercise, it's so simple. Okay, and we're out. Thank you all.